All right, assess these rookie quarterbacks. If you were handicapping, and I'm assuming you've seen tape on all of these guys, but
Yeah.
if let's say the draft's today.
Yeah. I'm having commitment issues, Dan. I want to fall in love with one of these guys so bad, and I can't really do it. The other day I went back and watched every 3rd and 6+ throw, because in college it's so hard to evaluate these guys now because you see so many little bubble screens and tunnel screens, right? So I went back and watched every throw of 3rd and 6+ to kind of cut through a lot of that. And it was interesting. If you just go off of what you saw on that reel, which is a little under 100 plays for each guy, Trubisky was the most impressive. Just watching somebody, work through progressions, make good decisions, accurate throws. I would say would be Trubisky, then Watson, and then Kaiser after that. Now, Kaiser in 2015, the way he played, I thought was the best, and that's one of the reasons why I've had him as the top quarterback. But man, last year I know there's no Ronnie Stanley, there's no Will Fuller, and the team kind of fell apart. But it's hard to get that taste out of your mouth. So, I mean, again, I'm having commitment issues. If I'm struggling with who I would have at the top of the board, but I'm very confident that I would not want to be pulling that trigger up very high in the draft.
Well, I think this is the problem that teams face every year. Don't fall in love if you don't want to fall in love. And you'll see teams that go, I'm going to fall in love with this quarterback, or we can get this guy right now. Remember a few years ago when Christian Ponder, like everybody went crazy over these Blaine Gabbert. I don't want to fall in love with any of these quarterbacks. I wouldn't fall in love with any of these quarterbacks in the top 10. I do love Watson because I've at least seen him on a big stage, big moment against a defensive-minded coach and what was considered to be one of the great defenses college football has ever seen, and he carved him up. I like it. I know there's going to be issues with his throwing motion and, can he, fit it into a small window, all those things that you guys assess, but I would not draft. I wouldn't take any of these quarterbacks top 10.
Yeah, I wouldn't either, Dan. And the tough thing for me about Watson, because everything I've heard from everybody around him, he's made of the right stuff, right? I mean, the leadership, the toughness, the poise. You can see that, and he saved his best for last the last 2 years. There's no question about that. The problem that I have with him is just in that offense, which is pretty basic, which is pretty simple.
Yeah.
The decision making, you watch him throw 17 interceptions this year, and you go back and look at guys that played in similar, type systems that have had success in the NFL. Marcus Mariota threw 4 picks his last year. Dak Prescott, who we all missed on, he threw 5 picks in that offense. Deshaun threw 17. And some of them are pretty egregious when you watch them. So that to me is the hurdle that I struggle to get over. But all of the he's got all the arm strength that you need. He's obviously a good athlete. He's got enough size. He's not going to be huge. And the off the field stuff, it's phenomenal. So if you want to work with the guy, I get a team trying to talk themselves into that, but not in the top 10.
Jimmy Garoppolo, is there a big enough sample size where you say, okay, if you're the Cleveland Browns, we're going all in on him, or the Bears or the 49ers?
Well, I mean, man, the Browns are a little bit interesting, a little different because they have those 2 ones. I wouldn't be crazy about sending pick number 12. I guess I would understand it. I mean, I had a high second-round grade on Jimmy Garoppolo. When you stack him up with the quarterbacks in this draft, I think he would be the best option. But I'm telling you, Dan, when you kind of forecast into the future and you look at some of these teams and how bad they are, if you're Cleveland, if you're San Francisco, you're not close right now. And I look at the potential of a Kirk Cousins if you're San Francisco, which seems to make a lot of sense. I would hold off and wait for that. And if you're Cleveland, you're going to be picking right up there in the top 5 again next year, or we'll all be shocked, right?
Yep.
And there's a couple quarterbacks in Los Angeles that are pretty darn good that could be in the draft next year. And there's another kid at Wyoming who's got a ton of ability. So I would hate to reach for a quarterback this year and take yourself out of the quarterback market next year.
The Dan Patrick Show, weekday mornings on Audience.